Welcome to episode 26 of the Burning the Red Shirt podcast. I am your host, Zach Tao, and as always, Andrew Katz and Chris Kay are with me tonight. You guys ready to get into some college football?
Dude, let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's finally here. We've only been drafting since like February.
Right.
Answer yes.
So it's funny you say that because I was thinking about this at work today. I said, you know, we have all this preparation, all this studying, all this research that we do from basically January until now to try to get an upper hand on your teams. It's not quite like studying for like a final and then you get there and it's not really a test because you still don't have anything under control because it's still out of your hands. So I was trying to think of something how you could compare it to, and it felt like when you study for a test and you get to the test and there's shit on the test that you did not have prepared. And that's what I feel like every year college football does this. We'll have some inevitable week 0, week 1 guy that nobody really expected to take off and he takes off, or a guy that we expected to be good, he isn't good. But that's my little...
I would say I think that's a good comparison, except maybe alter it and say like that theory or whatever you studied, it's actually maybe a little bit different. Like, okay, you know what? Like 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, and now equals 4.
Like everything you prepared for, it's not what you prepared for.
Yeah, it's not what it seems.
I don't care how well astute you are in depth charts for Sunbelt teams. There's going to be surprises that you were not prepared for. And we'll get into some of all this, like this stuff. But week 0, I know we've got a bunch of drafts that we've done. You guys have done the best ball. Was it championship series?
Champion series, yeah. Hosted by Devi Warehouse. Is that his?
I think that's right.
Twitter name?
I'm not in it, but you guys are in it. And Andrew took the time today. He took tons of time to do it, by the way. Kudos to Andrew that he compiled the ownership numbers of all these players between you. You and Andrew both have all your rosters on here. So you want to start with quarterbacks and talk about which quarterbacks you both decided to kind of put all your stock in this year?
Yeah. You didn't, dude, you should have thrown it to me about the comparison of college football and everything. Because I hearing you talk about it, I have 2 good comps.
Oh, then
let's redo it real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew, don't talk anymore. And back to Zach. Let's go.
So, Andrew, how do you compare college football to the studying aspect? Like all summer long,
one could be. I mean, the more tame one, and I guess more relatable one is just like go. Like a debate room in college or something like that. Look, where you prepare right optimally, and you bring in experience, skills, and all those things, and knowledge. But then once you actually get into the fray, like anything can kind of happen. And your ability, like I think about this a lot through the lens of how, mainly with like just generally speaking, public speaking and stuff of that ilk, where you're only going to be able to be dynamic with in that moment if you have experience, if you have that requisite skill set, if you have that foundational confidence. And like people make it look really easy, make it look really like just pivoting on the spot kind of deal, but it's really not that, right? The ability to do stuff like that comes from the experiences that you've gained, the confidence that you had, the knowledge that you have. And obviously things are subject to change in the moment, but the only way that you can really kind of go with the flow and pivot is if you have those requisite skills and have that experience and that knowledge. The other thing that came to mind, like kind of, is the Hunger Games, right? So they do all this preparation and spend all this time training for it, but then like you get thrown in the maze and all of a sudden like a tiger's trying to kill you, and how much does it really matter, kind of deal.
Right. Well, all of that preparation just goes out the window. Just trying to survive at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's actually really funny because like I don't care. Like even in years past, like you might feel like you're confident, man. These guys are I'm gonna win the league this year. My team's so good. Then you get to week 3, week 4, and you're like, man, my team is not this is not how it was supposed to go. And it happens to everybody pretty much every year. Guys on your team put a lot of stock in, and we'll get to that. Who you guys have stock in? There's guys that won't pan out. That's just the way it goes. Saying that, do you guys want to go ahead and talk about who you guys put your stock in?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my Hawaii shirt on, right, with this being kind of our last show before week 0, Hawaii. I think they're still technically the nightcap, right? Nevada and New Mexico State settled on, I think, a time slot barely ahead of Hawaii on the calendar. So, it felt appropriate to wear some Hawaii swag for this being our last show, most likely. But I mean, that being said, if we got a few
last show before football starts,
I'm not above making it in accord with our audience, though, that if we got an underdog sign up and deposit or two, I could see us doing another show before week 0 kicked off, just a handshake agreement. But you know what? This might end up being the last show. I guess we'll say.
So guys, go on while we're there before Chris jumps in here. While you're here, you haven't signed up with Underdog yet. I'm not going to read a cheesy ad, but if you haven't signed up, sign up with the code BTR or BTR pod. Have your deposit matched up to $100. Anyway, Chris.
We're going to talk about it later in terms of picks. We've tweeted out picks. Please, if you're here to listen and enjoy, do it responsibly. Check out the link, and then we'll go from there. You'll get an idea of who we like, even if we don't talk about the specific picks. You'll have an idea of what Underdog does a great job. It's fun. The inner graphics look great, awesome, whatever. Talk about Clay Millen and how if he doesn't do awesome, you're going to be in last place, Andrew, please, because it's actually incredible to see how you do this.
Zach, do you want to bring up the spreadsheet?
Did you want me to bring it up? Because I thought, okay.
Yeah. Sure. Let's share it for all 3 of the people who are actually watching the video version of this. Right. So
we're gonna get like 24 people to watch the actual thing.
Well, we've danced around the context of the tournament that Greg set up for 12 of us throughout the offseason. I honestly don't know if I could do this again next season in the same sense of like, okay, can I actually go from February to August of being so locked into college football every single month with this tournament kind of anchoring me. I think I need to find ways to be more efficient with my time and actually find a way to get somewhat of a real break from CFB. But I'm sure I'll change my mind as soon as the Natty's over. But the long and short of the tournament set up.
Can you guys see that?
What was that?
Can you guys see it? Okay.
Yeah. 12 of us, the same 12 of us come together basically twice a month, every 2 weeks, something of that ilk, to draft a team. We draft 28 players, start 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receiver, 2 tight end, 28 rounds, PPR. Tight end is 2 PPR. So you can imagine the impact.
So it's tight end premium, and you have 2 that you have to start. So that's that was the big thing I was going to make sure we focused on.
Best ball, overall prize for I think the most points across all 12 teams, and then payouts for winning each of the leagues as well. So there's an incentive to kind of shoot for the stars, while also if you kill it in an individual league, you're gonna get pretty close to getting your money back. So that being said, I took the approach, of course, of just being a kid in a candy store and just grabbing the players that I like without really not trying to do too much of kind of balance and do smart ownership stuff. I just kind of kept drafting the guys that I wanted over and over because I'm confident in those guys. And fortunately, I mean, it's a long way from February to August. A lot can change, but I was, you'll see from as we go position by position, a lot of the guys that I really liked, I kind of stuck with them from beginning to end and just kept getting them over and over. Quarterbacks that I found myself grabbing over and over. So Clay Millen, his draft stock never really moved in this throughout the entire tournament. I was getting him. I think the earliest I ever paid was the 11th round, and the latest I got him was the 15th round. I don't think that there's any real kind of curve or year one kind of down or I don't know what the right word is, I guess, learning curve associated with the moving of the Norvell system from Nevada, Colorado State. Millen's already had a year in the offense. This isn't a Ty Ganji situation with where a guy that had no talent representative of what it takes to be successful in that system taking over for Norvell offense. This is a 4-star guy who was recruited by Norvell, spent a year backing up Carson Strong, and now is going to just come in and kill it.
So this is out of 12 drafts, right?
Yeah, I got him 10 times. Dude,
Okay.
I was going to save this rant for – rant's probably not the right word. I wanted to say it to the person's face, but I'm not going to be able to because Joe from CFF site didn't put together those like one-on-one kind of things where three of us get together and just talk for a while. But it was going to be me, Froten, and Kyle, I think, this year, and which would have been awesome because I have a bone to pick with Froten with breaking up my perfect game with a bunt single, taking Clay Millen in like the 7th draft of these things. I had him, I think, the first 6, and I was fully prepared to go 12 for 12, and then he got him in, I think, the 7th and 8th, and then I got him the last 4 to close it out. Evan Prater really could end up looking really bad here. I think the way it ends up ultimately playing out is that he doesn't that we see Ben Bryant get fed to the Hogs in week 1, and that goes really badly, and then Prater just kind of takes things over from there. But
excellent.
I was fully confident until we got to August that it was going to be the Prater show, and then we see how camp's starting to play out, and of course Ben Bryant's going to look better in shorts and just kind of throwing the ball in without going live, right? That's not Prater's game. Prater's game is let's do. You're looking at me like I'm crazy, Chris. But
I'm very curious about what you think Ben Bryant looks like in shorts.
Dude, Ben Bryant is that dude that gets off the bus, and that dude is just a quarterback. He's got the arm. He can throw it nice and 7-on-7 and make it look good. But that
I took that the wrong way. I apologize. That had no college football relevance to it. I just was messing with you.
But I was off Prater for a little bit.
You're not wrong with that. I think you're 100% right in terms of the Ben Bryant thing. I think, you know, even if he is the starter, I mean, like Cincinnati is going to be like a 7-5 team if Ben Bryant's their quarterback the whole time.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad I think he is. Prater, you have the risk of like the the lower floor in a sense, because I think he could just be trash, and there's a world where he is trash,
definitely.
But like there's also a world where he's Ritter, and they go 11-1 or 12-0, and they hit a championship game. Like that's like, and Ben Bryant does not have that.
We just saw this dude go 6-6
other
in
areas
the
that
MAC
they can handle that for you.
He just went 6-6 in the MAC with the best trio of receivers in the MAC.
Yeah, receiving core was awesome.
Right. Yeah. And he was throwing for like sub 100 yards some games. But
all right, let's move on to another one. Prater 8 times. Your third one's Chandler Morris.
This is my favorite one. I'll let you talk at some point, Chris. Honestly, we could do this for hours. Like I could just talk about my guys and why they're all going to show out. But this is
the one that you probably have, or maybe are earning the most street cred for. Because you were drafting Chandler Morris, and I was like, what do I even know anymore? Like, what does Andrew know? Like, why are we drafting Chandler Morris? And you weren't drafting him super high, but you were drafting him like moderately high. And I have dug in a couple places, and I'm like, what am I doing? And here's Andrew just drafting. And now it seems very likely that we're about to get a Chandler Morris and a Tanner Mordecai type role that's a better runner than Tanner Mordecai. So this is where Andrew makes his money here. This is where he gets his street cred. Right here is Chandler Morris.
You want to peel back the curtain? You want to know how it all came together?
Are you tight with his dad?
No.
Are you about to break news that your wife is actually Chandler Morris's cousin?
I'll walk you through the whole saga of how I have an insane amount of Chandler Morris.
Teach me.
So there were 2 games last year where I thought quarterbacks had like absolutely transcendent performances, and I had to like make at minimum mental note of it. One was Calzada against Alabama, right? Like if you watch that game, like that was an out of body experience. It wasn't just him. A lot of the players on that team were just at it on another level. And the more I thought about that one, and just based on a lot of things that have played out since him transferring to Auburn, now third string, but even before kind of that played out, I think that everything that happened before that game in terms of Calzada's performance and after as well, I think you can chalk that more up to just Jimbo, like not getting enough credit overall for being an amazing coach on game day. Like that, it has to be one or the other, right? Jimbo either is an incredible coach or Calzada had one of the best quarterbacking performances of the year against Alabama because he was amazing that day. The other one is Chandler Morris against Baylor, where
what a game, dude, what a game.
Yeah,
by the way.
So I didn't
crap,
play DFS that day. I was in a pocket where I was like, I'm so miserable to everybody around me that I can't play DFS during the day. So I was doing something where I just wasn't paying that much attention to college football, but I saw a notification come through that like Morris is starting that day, and I was like, whatever, it's that dude who Lincoln Riley ran off and then didn't want to give eligibility to. Doesn't sound familiar or anything like that. And then I remember seeing like, wow, they actually beat Baylor, and he went for some obscene numbers. And I was like, I need to actually like understand what happened here. So I found like a recording of the game and watched it, and I'm watching this dude just throw like he the only way I can comp the way he throws the ball is how Mahomes throws it, how it's like he can throw 40-yard line drives that are just like everyone else has to put arc on and he doesn't, and then he could actually throw with touch and he can move around. Like it was an insane performance, especially given the expectations. And like
so you're saying he's not
watching
been
the game from beginning to end made me an absolute believer from there. And I was like, and from that moment forward, it was like, okay, I need to get this guy everywhere I can off waivers. And I got him in as many spots as I can from like a dynasty perspective. The following week, he lit a bunch of money of mine on fire against Oklahoma State, but he even looked good for the first half of that game. Like I watched that game and a million different penalties, a million drops by receivers. I was like, okay, even though this knocked me out of the 50 team by starting him against Bainbridge instead of an actual quarterback who wasn't going up against the top defense in college football. It's still like, I think that long-term, like this might be a blessing in the sense that this game here is going to not give him the momentum necessarily going into the next season. I know how good he is. Now people might forget because he was so terrible, or the stats were so terrible against Oklahoma State. So then the offseason comes around. Dykes comes in, and I'm like, okay, this also could be a blessing or a curse. Like, he could transfer out. A million different things could happen, but I'm still all in. And in the spring, competition against Max Duggan, right? And I'm personally thinking like, okay, like there's like I've seen Max Duggan play, and I know what kind of player this guy is. It's a guy that like he can throw it hard, he can throw far, he can run fast, but this dude is not going to excel in an offense that actually is representative of the era where it requires you to make lots of reads, actually play like an actual quarterback. So my thoughts are, just given those very few realities variables, are if this is a real competition and not just a fake one like we see in so many different college football off seasons, Morris wins this without much of a problem. And then I start thinking about all the other factors that are at work. Garrett Riley's the offensive coordinator. He's Lincoln Riley's brother. I'm sure that they talked together and he got the goods on how like Lincoln Riley recruited Chandler to Oklahoma. He knows how good he is. And even though he tried to stop him from getting eligibility at TCU, I think that doesn't necessarily mean that he thinks he's a bad player. Probably the opposite.
Wait. Are we talking about Lincoln Riley and stopping people from eligibility?
Oh boy.
And that's never happened before.
Then I think about, okay, Sonny Dykes, his boys with Chad Morris. They're like, they all run in the same air raid circles. So Chad being Chandler's dad. So you know that they're probably talking about how he knew about Chandler even before he got to TCU. And so I'm giving consideration to just those things as well. And then as the spring practice progresses, you listen to some podcasts and you basically hear 50-50, maybe Chandler a little bit ahead. So going into the fall camp, nothing's really changed about my opinion whatsoever. Like so many of the other competitions, like the uncertainty that's there largely just serves as an ability for us to profit, I think. The longer that uncertainty lasts, the better.
So here's what I love about Andrew. A lot of things I love about Andrew, but this is one of the things I really love. He's one of the only people that I ever hear talk about the actual eye tests. He's like, you ever watch that guy play? Like, he always asks that question. And I'm thinking, you know what? That's such a true statement. Because if you actually watch some of these guys play, there's no way that you think some of these guys are any good. Because you watch them throw the ball. Like, you always say, have you ever seen him throw the ball? I don't know that I've really ever studied how he throws the ball. But it's a good point. And I just wanted to commend you for that.
So the best part is we're still like, if you go on Twitter, you search around, you read the news, we're like, people still think that this isn't Chandler's job. You see this garbage about all three of them are going to play. Hopefully people continue to believe this BS to the point where we're leading up to that Friday night slate and people are not like, hopefully we don't have an announcement.
Are they a Friday night?
It's Friday at 10:00. It's like, I couldn't.
Yes.
It's the best possible. Like, I couldn't have dreamed of anything better. But hopefully, like that, this leads to some low ownership week one. Hopefully, we don't get an announcement from Dykes. Hopefully,
I think what I took from that was, have you guys? I mean, I'm sure you guys have, but let's think about the graphic, the meme of the girl in bed laying, thinking he's probably thinking of some other guy, or I'm sorry, some other girl, and Andrew's over here thinking, how do I explain Chandler Morris as QB1? Like, that's literally what I am taking away from that.
I thought about this exact segment so many times, and I didn't even execute on it very well. I think I left out so many things I actually want to talk about.
Well, I'd like to move on to another quarterback.
The stats of war guy who is so against Chandler Morris. Like, he was obsessed with Dugan for years, and now he's into Sam Jackson. Like, this dude, he's a gift personally, just in the fact that, like, Mike continues to post his venom, his propaganda into the Discord, and he's like, people are taking this as anything as actually being like objective thoughts on anything. The dude is so biased on not only his team but the players that he wants to win position battles for his team, and all of this is just a gift. It's amazing, and it's just gonna. I've got Chandler. I can't believe I only have him on 7. I let Froten get him a couple times. I think Clint's got him a couple times as well. The other gift is every single time someone drafts Dugan, that's just money in all of our pockets. I guess you. This
is turning into when Andrew lost his cell phone type funny. This is just so good.
Yeah.
All right, can we move to a different quarterback now? I love that you talk about Chandler Morris.
Maybe move to my quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Can we talk to my
well,
quarterbacks,
I wanted before we did that, like, I was looking at the guys that Andrew grabbed one time, and
is there maybe I'm gonna jump in, Zach, because I haven't talked at all.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there one quarterback that you've taken once out of 12 that you wish you would have had more than once?
That's a great question, Chris.
I was so close to getting JRP so many times, and it's just like I was always getting Schlee, or I was getting Tyrese Chambers, or I was just getting someone else in that round, and like I don't really use rankings or like Q or anything too much like that. So JRP always slipped my mind, and I only ended up with him one time in this, but I've got him in like 2 dynasty, two redraft. I've got him in a few in like an eliminator or 2, but in Champion Series, one time is unacceptable. Like, my confidence never really wavered on him, and I didn't execute it when it came time to pull the trigger on him in these drafts.
You got Caleb Williams one time. I'm curious, where did you pick that draft?
I regret that. I'm so anti early quarterback, like early first 2 rounds, and I was, my mind was not in the game that day, and I took him, I think, round 1. It's something I never do. Also. Oh
man.
Yeah,
that's fine. If it's game theory, I can understand it. I'm looking at my list.
Hold on.
I also have I have JRP once as well. What I think is really funny,
you were
and this
spread
is like
out
so
way
on
more.
brand. Yeah, this is so on brand for Andrew and myself. Andrew is, I believe in my guys. If you haven't listened to the first 30 minutes of the show, I'm gonna like preface it with he believes in his guys, right? And me, I'm like, I kind of like my guys, but I want to just be safe just in case I'm completely wrong. And that's exactly what I did. I counted it up. I used I drafted 191 players in 12 drafts. You don't have to do that. I already did it. And Andrew Andrew drafted 134. Like he literally drafted a third less players. And I think it's just because, I mean, Andrew, you look at the numbers, Andrew very much like his highest highs are so strong and he just believes in what he believes in. So I love it. Daquan Finn was my number one, which we don't have to like debate, right? Like we all like him.
You sure this isn't my
right?
list?
Like almost feels like it to an extent, and then you get to Bo Nix. You might sacrifice a week in non-conference, but I think his upside is insane, which is why I think what I ended up doing was going with like the Finns of the world with some crazy upside, and then like giving yourself like Clifford and Nix and Rising, guys like that were going to be just straight like 22-point type guys every single week.
Did you see the report
like
on Toledo?
And Bennett's?
Did you see the report? They lost like two of their starting linemen.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So I don't know if that's good or bad for Finn. Like I feel like the running game suffers, but maybe Finn improvises more. I don't know. Maybe it's just a complete shit show. I don't know, but I like that you have Finn as your.
He's my number one.
Chris,
I did the poll.
You were on a kick where you were like going QB early for a while. How'd you feel about that?
I liked it. I went a little strong to start, and then I tapered it back. That's why you don't see too many of the high price guys.
You're definitely
like that's where like the Brennan Armstrong comes in, Will Rogers comes in, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Like those, I think those are literally when I did that like 2-3 drafts where I was like very heavy on like QBs early to just kind of play around it and see what I liked. That's where they came in. But I don't think it's the move. I don't think it's the move.
I'm kind of shocked you only have Hooker once.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm so spread out. I think ultimately when I was picking quarterbacks early, I deferred to other guys. And I don't know what else to say other than that. Like I like Hooker. I think he's a super safe play.
You took DJU
loved
more times than you took Hooker.
Yeah, well, I also took DJU in like the 24th round. You know, like. By the way, that seems to be an awful decision at this point. But I took Grant Gunnell more than I took Hendon Hooker. But what I was surprised to see, I didn't realize I had Chevin Cordero 3 times. Had no idea that I had done that. Very thrilled about it.
3 for me as well.
Very nice.
You draft for
you
6-7
also got
months.
Slovis 3 times.
Well, at least he was named starter this week.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, wasn't it today or yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday I think it was.
Yeah. So that's good news for you.
Michael Pratt is my overall highest owned quarterback, by the way. I drafted him 9 times out of like 22 or 25 best balls. So that is frightening. But yeah.
Any other quarterback? Okay, same question back to you then that you asked Andrew. Is there a quarterback that you didn't draft enough that you or feel that you didn't draft enough that you maybe should have?
I mean, JRP is the same thing, but I would say for me, Malik Cunningham probably or Grayson McCall, one or the other. I think like Grayson McCall, I was on him, but like I caught him a little bit mid in the drafts in terms of like I started talking about mid drafts, and then it kind of like his ADP seemed to rise, and then also maybe like coincided with like a different draft strategy, so that got tough. But like Malik Cunningham to me is like this year or this offseason is like your elite quarterback type player because he's just so high on upside, and I don't need him to go for whatever each week. But like if he goes for 40, 60 points a couple weeks, like you can just really crush it. You can supplement the other weeks, but like tell me other quarterbacks are going to hit 55 a week.
There's not any.
What other quarterbacks in college football right now, in terms of who can hit 50 plus points and as a quarterback, you're looking at a list of less than 6, and he can do that 2, 3, 4 times.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I wish I had him a little bit more for sure.
So you want to go ahead and move to running backs? We'll start with you.
Yeah, let's do me a little bit here. So Jordan Houston's a very interesting selection as my number 1. I did like him though. Like I don't know if I talked about him much. I didn't make him one of my top 5 guys in the offseason that I did that little like sectional series. But like to me, he's a pretty good play. Like I got him mid to late. Like I'm talking 20th rounder later in pretty much every time. NC State is going to score, right? They've shown to have 2 successful running backs with Ricky Person and Andrew. Help me out with the other one real quick.
Bam Knight,
Zonovan Knight. Exactly. So like, you know, like who's the RB2 for NC State? Anybody have any idea? No, we have no idea. So like if we just get one of those 2 guys, like that's worth a 20th-round pick. So I'm huge on him. I was very heavy. If you look at like our drafts between Andrew and myself, I think I took maybe 20 more running backs in terms of like ownership total.
You're pretty spread out there too. Yeah.
I was pretty spread out, but like I felt better about running backs. And part of that is because of Houston. Part of that's because of Blake Corum, Travis Dye, who I loved. I love Billy Kemp jumping in here with 3 ownership there. But like Blake Corum to me is like, if he doesn't get hurt, he's like a top 10 running back last year. Right. Like I know Hassan Haskins is was awesome. And a lot of that was that Ohio State game, but like really like Corum should have been that guy. Right. Like Haskins was scoring on short yardage stuff, goal line stuff. And sure, we're going to concede that as Blake Corum fans and owners, right? But like those 25, 35-yard runs are going to Corum, not going to Haskins if he wasn't banged up. So I'm a huge fan of Corum, huge fan of Dye at USC. So I was very confident, I felt, in running backs and was trying to just take as many as I could in comparison to receivers. So,
yeah. You took Gibbs twice. Was that just due to where you picked?
I wish I had taken more, to be honest. I was super high on him to start. And I don't know if I think what happened was I had him as like a top 5, top 6 guy. And I was taking him because I had 7, 8, 9. And then I started getting picks inside the top 3, 4. I was taking Jackson Smith and Jigba and Travion Henderson. And like, I think if you look at my first round type players like Ali, Gibbs, Deuce, Braylon Allen, Jordan Addison, Jackson, right? Smith and Jigba. Like I literally have like 1 or 2 of all of them. Mm-hmm. Like if you look at my top players owned, I think all of them are like 5th round and later. Like there's none of them that are like super, super high. Besides Brew McCoy, who is like should have been in the top 3 rounder. But besides that, all of them were later guys. So yeah.
You got Travion once. You got Ali once. So
Travion, you can't get Travion if Andrew's picking before you. I mean, I was looking at like overall type stuff, and Andrew had Travion maybe 8 or 9 times out of like 20. It was like crazy how much.
So is there a running back that you wish you had gotten more of? Or I go to Andrew.
You know, Nate Noel is a random guy. You know, I know App State mixes it up. They use multiple guys, but like I have him once. You get him between 12th and 18th round, and
correct answer was Ari Broussard.
It's not Ari Broussard. It's never Ari Broussard. So I think he's the guy that I would say, you know what, like considering where you could have gotten him, it just feels like in this type of format, this is where you take advantage of a Nate Noel.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, Andrew, I just pulled your running backs up. Like talk about them.
Yeah, so two things. One, I thought my summary at the beginning in terms of how the tournament works was fairly succinct, and I hit all the key points. But one data point I forgot to include was that we each, across the 12 drafts, there are 12 of us, and we each pick in a slot 1 through 12 once. So and it's predetermined beforehand. Greg figured out like, okay, in the 6th draft, you'll have the 7th slot, something like that. And so that was cool. So me having Travion 4 times basically results from me having him as my number 1 player overall. So I was able to get him 4 times because of that. Because in full PPR, right, people will grab Smith-Njigba, they'll grab Bijan. So that's how that kind of played out. And to Chris's point, in terms of me, him having way more running backs than me, that results from 2 things. One, me drafting Keaton 8 times as a running back and then that magically disappearing in terms of his eligibility. And 2, me just being a total idiot and I was only drafting like 6 running backs initially, thinking like, okay, like I knew I wanted to be a little more wide receiver heavy, largely, especially in early drafts. Like I had more confidence overall. I'm just, okay, these receivers that are going in the back half of the draft, I feel really good that they're going to be really good as the season plays out for 4 or 5, 6 months from now. Like especially with the earlier drafts, my strategy was largely like, what do I know and what can I feel really strong about? Leaning a little less into variance than I did later on, just because so many things can happen.
So before you keep going, so just looking at it, like Chris kind of said it, like this is so on brand for Andrew. Because all of your running backs are the guys that you've rode with this whole time.
Yeah, totally.
Bennett, Charbonnet, Gore, Merriweather, Swin, Henderson, like all of those guys are the guys that you talk about, and they're at the top of your list.
Yeah, I'm getting nervous about Merriweather. Like you can't find anything good being said relative to his role in this offense at this point, whether it be the according to Nick CFB winning edge, like their coach is. Like he created YouTube videos about the quarterback running the ball and how to do it effectively. Like they also have like as opposed to just having Merriweather in terms of effective running backs,
like recruiting pitches. Like it's like, hey, come here. I'll show you how to play.
Like if you're running a play where a design quarterback run, this is how you do it. At his past stops also, like the quarterback running game was paramount to like what he wanted to do. So that's not optimal. And just in the sense that like that's another representative ball carrier added to the fray. And then you've got the dude Baldwin coming in from Indiana. You've got, I think, another guy or 2 coming back from injury. Like there's going to be more cooks in the kitchen this year. So I was paying way too much for Merriweather, taking him in like 6th, 7th round. And then he started dip and I was like, okay, like I'm a little less confident, but 14th round, let's do it. Now I'm like, damn, it could just be like, you idiot, why are you owning a running back on UMass? Like that's like a very likely outcome at this point, I think. More or less like totally believe in Braden Bennett. I think that we see the 100-meter hurdles track champion, 6 foot plus, 220 pound guy who just was unleashed in the bowl game. Get something representative of RB1 touches this year. Or at minimum, like he doesn't. I don't think this dude needs 20 carries, 20 touches a game. The way they were using him last year, where they were just throwing him the ball in space and like using him on as the pitch man, and then just keeping him on the field all the time and giving him enough carries as the primary ball carrier. That's enough of a path for him to like enter my lineup and crush it. I know. I paid a premium price in the 4th, 5th round, but there's a lot of players.
How much Reese White do you have? Is the question.
0. I'm not, dude. So
you're banking on Coastal not being split carries in a sense, because if Reese White,
so my strategy,
Reese White should do something.
He should. Yeah, he's going to. He's going to. But
Andrew.
Are you suggesting that I should take him as like a handcuff?
No, I think in a sense a handcuff, but more the fact that if you think they're going to run it well as a team.
Well, I think that
he was going for nearly almost
I love the talent.
I like Braden Bennett, but I just was never going to get him when you were drafting him.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
wasn't concerned about it.
The system is nice. The system, I think, plays to his strengths, but his strengths and the step in his on-field time and his touches are what I want. It's not so much the system.
I would say the system is a little bit what we want, but I think guys will never like Coastal players because their system is super efficient and projecting efficiency like that year over year is just so hard. Grayson McCall, right? He's a guy that's going to throw it 26 times a game, but he's going to run it 8 times a game, but he's going to get you 27 points. And that type of stuff is so hard for I don't mean this in any sort of negative way, but your data nerd type people that are so driven by data to say he only touched the ball 16 times. How is he going to average 22 points? But Braden Bennett was breaking off 50-yarders every time he touched the ball. And that's what Coastal does. So,
the Anthony Thomas. He'd get 12 touches in a game and he would just make the most of every one of them.
He had 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. You really mad at the 12 touches when he has 150 yards? So I think that's just more a product of the system. And it's just, I'm not willing to pay the price you did for Braden Bennett, but I can see why you like him.
Yeah. That's
okay. Let's move down the list so we can get to wide receivers. Is there anybody down the list here that you maybe wish you had gotten some more of?
2 guys, Zack Evans. I even though I think I bought too much into this garbage surrounding him wanting to not have a full workload and split touches and stuff. Only having one share, drafting him 1 time is just unacceptable. And then I didn't start to believe in Tion Evans as being the RB1 at Louisville until late enough in the game where it would never have crossed my mind to draft him early on. I was more just anti Travion Cooley, but I would love to go back in time and have the feelings that I do now 6 months ago and be drafting Evans then.
Okay. All right, let's go to wide receivers. I'm going to have to read the screen. It's not.
Well, we already know who my number 1 is, so let's just start talking about him.
Yeah. So I think I won the competition with Torrey Horton, right, of getting the most of any player. I wonder if anyone managed to get 12 of a single player in Champion Series, get him in every single draft. I don't think
it's possible. I don't think anybody did it, but I will say we both. I said this earlier, just randomly chatting with you guys. We own all of the Keaton Thompson in the series. You have 8 of them, I have 4 of them.
Yeah.
In terms of all my best balls, so you add another 8 or 10 for me, I have 8 in total. So we were very much, bless up, it's all on Keaton. In a sense, it's all on Keaton. So it would be so much better if he was dual, but maybe that changes mid-season. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm messing with him.
After he gets the Cordell Patterson rule, they're going to have to give it to him.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get.
You're fine. I could just talk about my receivers all day.
Go for it.
We could see them. We just don't see the count.
I'm trying to get it, but the spreadsheet wasn't going to shift over far enough. But
oh boy,
you can see who the top guy is. Torrey Horton. And you took him 11 times.
Yeah, Josh CFF guys got him in the first Champion Series, I think in the 10th round. I was just kind of,
you fell asleep. You fell asleep, Andrew. It's okay. You fell asleep and you missed it.
Or maybe I stole Josh's idea and just ran with it. Who's to say?
That's what Josh would say.
Yeah, but the idea was always there, I think, in the sense that, okay, don't believe in Dante Wright. And now like everyone's kind of on the same page. And midway through these drafts, the script kind of flipped where it became super apparent that, hey, it's not Dante Wright. It's probably Torrey Horton. So I stopped being able to get Torrey in like the 10th, 9th round. And then I started having to pay 5th or 6th and being stubborn. I'm like, I don't care. I think he's going to smash. He's going to be the WR1 in Norvell's offense. Clay Milton's going to crush it. He's going to crush it. We're going to be up till 1 a.m. scoring touchdowns. It's going to rock. So let's just keep going. The obvious conclusion I think here, right, is that I went light, relatively speaking, on running back, and then heavier on receiver. And just I got so many of the guys I absolutely love. Puka, I was getting Puka in like 14th, 15th, 16th round to start.
I don't
understand why. Like I have no idea why he was available then, but I wasn't asking questions. I was just taking him. And then I started having to compete with I think Froten and some other people for him, but nine times is fine. That's acceptable.
Cooks and Lockhart, I like that balance you got there,
dude. Yeah. I mean, if it was up to me, I would have them 12 times both, but they're neither of them got expensive to the point where it was prohibitive at all. The earliest Cooks ever went, I think, was like 12th, 13th round. Lockhart maybe 17th round, and I so many things contribute to guys going where they are in a tournament like this, especially with the double tight ends and tight end premium. But a number of times I feel like I was getting all primed up to take Cooks, and it would just go like a couple picks before me. He's going to absolutely smash this year. I think Lockhart's going to be good too. It's going to be, as your boy, Chris, your boy Ethan, I think wrote it up. Ethan Sowers wrote it up initially. Like, this is going to be the 2020 San Jose State offense again, with Love, Walker, and Gauthier, except it's going to be Shevin, who can actually run now, and Cooks and Lockhart, who are better than Gauthier and Walker. It's going to be awesome. Besides, the Big 12 is going to be the conference this year for fantasy. Mountain West is second, in my opinion. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun.
And apparently they're all winning 12 games in the Mountain West too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Everybody wins 12.
Yeah. All right, I noticed a couple guys down your list here that I'm actually a little shocked that you only got that many times as you did. Donovan Green only once.
Dude, it's fucking Clint's fault. He was taking him so early every draft, and he got him 9 times, I think. And I never
Clint did that, man. I was looking through stuff, and Clint, there's a couple guys I was like, I have a lot of them, and then I'm like, it's me and Clint, like on all of the players. Like, what the heck? Where did this come from?
Yeah, I like in all the other drafts that we've done outside of this, where Clint isn't most of the time. Like in one of the eliminators that Greg ran, I got Donovan Green in the 28th round, right? And then I can't even get him in like the 15th here. Like I multiple champion series, I would go into it thinking this is like towards the back half. I'd be like, okay, I haven't gotten Donovan Green in a while. Everything's still trending nicely. Like, this is the draft I get him, and then Clint gets him again. So
right,
it's just how it played out.
It's Clint, man.
You can't get him all.
You gotta watch out for that guy.
Yeah, he's the man.
You got Cobbs one time. Ooh, you must have gone a little early.
I got the one time I got him was amazing value, relatively speaking. It was like the 6th or 8th round in a really early draft. And then Mike, I think, pushed him up to Mike Bangridge, pushed him up to the 4th round, and I just I don't know. I was too busy getting Braden Bennett, so I never got Cobbs again, I guess.
Yeah. All right, Chris, let's move to you. Probably have some difficulty here getting this all squared away.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to worry about it.
There you go. Got it. It's already set up.
McCoy at the top. It's a Brew McCoy at the top.
Of course.
I got 7 of 12.
Absolutely.
I got 7 of 12. I will tell you, my ratio started to get a little bit more even over time when eligibility became a concern. I think I have him in 11 of 22 in total, but 7 of 12 is pretty committed. Jaden Wally, hence the motivation for the short tonight. I don't know, man. It just feels like he had such a good freshman season, underwhelming sophomore year season. Why Mike Leach, we love you. I show my wife your videos all the time because they're so ridiculously funny. Can we just be on the same side here and just play Jaden Wally a bunch? Mac Hippenhammer, I love a good receiver one from the MAC, and I think there's 2 things that I loved about him was I was getting him in like the 6th, 7th round, and he's got that like week 10 bye. Like all the receivers I liked in general were 7, 8, 9. Jake Bobo, the Ohio State guys, the Bama guys, like those all seem to be like that week 7, 8, 9. So I was like, I need to start like really hitting on guys that were not those rounds, because one draft in particular, I think I had like 5 of my first 7 receivers were week 7 buys, and I was like, I don't have anybody to play receiver in that week. So like that stuff actually matters to an extent. So I kept that in mind. Malachi Corley was an awesome example of that. He's a week 2 buy. He gets the rare 13 week. Not that it matters, but like for us, but like it's fun to see. And I think he's the clear one for Western Kentucky. Keaton at 4 times. I really like Arkansas State's and Arkansas, I guess. Their passing attack. I got Foreman and Tavalance Hunt a bunch. I don't think they're going to be any good, which is great because that means they're losing, right? Like that's actually a good thing. And I like both of them. I don't know which one is. I think Hunt's going to be the number 1, but he's not your like typical number 1. So like Foreman, who's been successful as well, I'm going to take a shot at him. And I think I was taking both of them at like the 15, 16, 17th round for Hunt and like the 2021, 22 for Foreman. So I can't hate on that. In terms of, I would say one completely non-fantasy related remark would be, how many receivers out there are named J.A. something? Like I'm looking at this list. I got Jadon Hazelwood, Jake Bobo, which I have a lot of. You got Jack Beck, Jalen Hyatt, Jalen Robinson. I got Jacob Cowing, Jalen Cropper, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Wayne, Jackson Smith and Jigaba, Jalen Hall, Jayshon Jackson. Like it's literally like our only receivers named J.A. I don't know.
Dude, you got a Deion Hankins share, a man from.
I got at the very end, and I'm actually annoyed I did not do it more because he's not owned in like any of the other leagues.
No,
I got him
that's
for
the
free.
first time I've seen him taken.
And guess what? The best part about him?
The wide receiver eligibility.
Dual eligibility.
There you go.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I don't have to ask that question. Who you wish you got?
6 foot 235. He had the wide receiver ilk.
Yeah. Oh no, it's amazing.
I love the Broden. You grabbed Broden.
I grabbed Broden while I was in TSA security line, and Mike Bainbridge immediately messaged me on Twitter and said, "You're an idiot. Why did you just take Broden?" And I said, "Dude, I'm in TSA right now, just trying to survive in Atlanta. Okay, like pump the brakes a little bit. It's round 24. Just give me 5 minutes of grace, okay, buddy." So yeah. So
I hope he's your best player.
I can't wait. I have him in an industry league, I think.
We have him in BTR.
Shocker means he's going to be a stud because everybody I have on my industry league team is a stud. So.
That's great. All right. Well, I'm not going to try to shift over for tight ends. So you guys want to talk about tight ends?
No, I don't think we need to talk about tight ends.
Okay.
Let's pump into, I don't know, a website that potentially has devoted interest in us. Thus, we must talk about them.
Underdog.
Because we like them.
Yeah, I'm not going to do the ad read, but Underdog posted their, what do you call them? Pick'ems. Basically player props that you decide to, basically a parlay you have to make, right? Essentially. But there's only like 4 games. There's the Nebraska, Northwestern, Wyoming, Illinois, Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, Vanderbilt, Hawaii. 4 games. Was there any, I don't know, Andrew, have you looked through all of these or not? Are there any that kind of jump out at you as must plays?
I listened to enough of CFB Winning Edge podcasts. I haven't gone through, they've been doing previews in clusters of 10 teams, starting at the back where all of our favorite teams live, like the G5 and such. And I listened to enough of them talking about how bad Charlotte's defense was last year and how it doesn't project to improve much, if at all, this year. That even though I think the total yards for N'Kosi Perry in this game. So Florida Atlantic playing Charlotte on Saturday. I think the total yards opened in the 230s. So not getting that opening number now. I think we're at 242.5, but I don't think he has much problem getting there just based on that defense likely being a horror story, even though Perry never seems like he runs as much as we would like him to, based on just like the initial reports when that dude got comped to Lamar Jackson do you remember that? Like when he was at Miami? People like it was, I assume it was always unrealistic and hilarious, but
2014.
exactly.
Man,
Yeah.
there was lots of drugs going on back
presumably
then.
lives there, but we just never see it. And there are definitely a little bit in the way of fears about the OC coming in, the new OC coming in, being more maybe run oriented. But 242.5 total yards feels good to me in a game that should these teams should be going back and forth. I don't have a ton of faith in the running backs on FAU. I think that the offense is going to largely run through N'Kosi, and they should be successful this weekend.
Total yards is nice.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing, right? Like I think Perry has a lot of upside in his rushing ability. If you don't like, Andrew, you said you don't like necessarily, or maybe you don't feel comfortable with the running game, I would consider hitting Johnny Ford unders, whether that's Prize Picks or Underdog, because there's props on both. And like 82 yards is pretty steep. And on Prize Picks, I think his fantasy total is like 17. Like if you don't feel very
he's not
confident,
even starting.
Yeah, but I think like that's one of those like BS type situations.
Yeah, that's fair.
Plus, like I think he'll play like a Calvin Turner type role where like he'll get 10, 12 carries and also get 6 targets.
Fair.
But still, right? Like you get 12 rushing attempts, like how tough will it be to hit 82 rushing yards? You know, that'll be pretty difficult. So
yeah.
I like the Perry number. Because it's total yards. If that was passing, I would clearly stay away from it.
Think I played. Remember what I played Wester. I think I went over the 51 yards, 51.5 yards. I played Chase Brown, which I don't think it was 104.5 rushing yards. I think it was like 89 or something.
Yeah, I think it started maybe at 98. It's been moving. Chase Browns
I went over on that, but it was below what it's at now.
Yeah, it's been moving up.
I think I took.
This is, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, by the way, this is one of those things that like, and we'll tweet it out. Like we will 100% tweet it out when we see it in terms of underdogs, Prize Picks, whoever, props, right? Like the big thing is you catch them when they're released because you get the potentially bad lines, right?
Yeah.
And we'll tweet it out. You make sure to listen to us, make sure to follow us, and we'll make sure to push it out. But like, you know, you could do Chase Brown at 104.5, but he was also at like 98.5.
Okay, so
least, maybe
that was 98.5. Yeah. So this is what I took. Those are the 5 I took.
Yeah. So like I don't, hey, 6 yards isn't crazy, but like when you're sweating the fourth quarter and he's got 98 and you're just hoping he gets one more yard, you're going to be thanking yourself that you caught it on a Wednesday instead of catching it on a Friday,
Right.
So,
yeah.
But for me, the 2 ones I really like in this slate, and I tweeted out maybe from my account or the pod account, was Grant Dubose.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was 4.5 receptions, which it still is at, and Will Shepherd 4 receptions.
Yep, still there.
They're closer to gun to my head type bets, but I really do like him. I think like who is like Vanderbilt receiver ones have had a lot of success in terms of just like basic production. Like they're not having huge games, but like they've shown to have some guys that can do it. And like who's Mike Wright throwing to, right? Like
McGowan.
They're not triple optioning it all day, right? Like I think Will Shepherd's going to have a good game, and 4 catches is like fairly reasonable. And then Dubose is the receiver 1, in my opinion, at Charlotte. And Chris Reynolds is a good quarterback, solid veteran. He's been there since the 2010s. And I think that, like, hey, Victor Tucker is old news in terms of receiver 1. Elijah Spencer is kind of interesting, but like I think Dubose in 5 catches is very, very appealing. I would be very interested to see if like they throw out like a fantasy point score. I would probably be a little bit more interested in that than the over 4.5, but they don't have it out. So that's like one I'm definitely in.
How do you feel about Isaiah Williams? 4 receptions and 47.5 receiving yards.
To me, he is another like Calvin Turner type. Not literally, but like in the fact that like I think they're going to give him some carries. I think he's going to be the focal point of the offense, but it's Illinois.
Right.
So how effective are they going to be? You know, do I want to bank? Like he could have 5 catches for 26 yards, right? Or he could have 2 catches for 60 yards. So like, I don't know which one to do. I would rather bet on a fantasy point total.
Yeah.
So I don't, Underdog, if you're listening, I know you are listening actually. Underdog, just do fantasy point totals or add fantasy point totals because I think that adds another aspect to it.
Yeah.
I'd be more comfortable betting a fantasy point total because I think like, I know he's going to be used in a bunch of ways. I just don't know how, or I can't guarantee one or the other. And I don't know where, and I get no benefit for a touchdown. Like if you tell me who's going to score a touchdown for Illinois, it's Chase Brown, it's Isaiah Williams. Like those are my top 2, and I don't get any benefit of that.
So while everybody's listening to us here, if you're still listening, don't forget to sign up with Underdog BTR Pod. Use that promo code, match your deposit up to $100. If you like any of these props, like jump on them now because week 0
it's only going to get worse.
Yeah,
I will say this: we're not talking about ones that are like. I feel like if we're talking about ones, they're ones that like the public is also on in a sense.
Yeah. Well, if Chase Brown moves 6 yards already,
it's good. Stuff's gonna move. They're not gonna. It's not gonna move in favor. They're not gonna listen to us and be like, you know what, Isaiah Williams, 48.5 yards. Let's bump it down to like 30 because Chris is in it. Like that's not like those aren't the ones we're talking about.
We are influencers, though. We do influence.
I mean, no. Only one of us is an influencer.
I just take the credit for it. Yeah, Andrew.
Oh, thank you.
All right. I think we can move on to that. We're going to do 1 win totals, unless you guys have something to add before we move on.
Just the one. This is the final main event.
The final one, and I'm probably
going
to... which is fine.
Old Dominion.
Old Dominion. This is for Justice. He's been begging Chris to basically pick that first game.
Yeah.
That's
I think
really
there's a lot of love for Justice. He's the one that helped concoct our logo. If we're going to do one final team, it's going to be his team. Sure. So props to Justice. We appreciate you, buddy. Love the insight and can't wait to predict losses for every single week.
Right. Trying to get the show. We're good. All right. First week, Friday night, Virginia Tech. Chris, take it away.
I mean, that's a loss. They don't even have they're down a coordinator. That's a loss.
All that build up for you to say, nope, that's a loss. Done.
Yeah. That's a loss.
Where's the game?
Brent Pry owns the state of Virginia now. I don't know if you saw the
Old Dominion
billboards.
gets them at home.
So it's at Old Dominion.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know how you could be confident in Virginia Tech coming in this year. It looks disastrous from the outside. Granted, I don't follow the program.
There's lots of Kool-Aid flowing, buddy. Brent Pry is just hitting everybody up. We got a real quarterback. We have a real
he's doing his best
staff.
Shane Beamer impression. He looks happy. He talks a big game, but like I don't understand. I mean, you can draw parallels though, right? Like from the offensive perspective, like South Carolina was total garbage last year offensively, right. And Virginia Tech I think looks like they're headed in a similar direction this year. So maybe the defense would be all right.
I mean, I don't think they win 9 games.
Yeah.
But I think that they'll be better. They're not losing to ODU, in my opinion. And I have respect for Old Dominion. But they're not losing to Old Dominion. I think
I don't know. I think it's
I
going to
love
be
where
a
the
close
staff
game.
is heading.
So I guess it's my vote then.
So
are you wait, Andrew, are you picking Old Dominion?
Yes.
Ooh. So it's on me. I think I'm going to lean Virginia Tech. I don't know that I can pick Old Dominion.
For the sanctity of the pod, it's probably in your best interest.
I think I'm picking Virginia Tech. So 0-1, and they go at East Carolina. Picking East Carolina there.
I think East Carolina is the better team. Holt Nailers, Keaton Mitchell, who I'm shocked I don't have a lot of. I took him so much. It must have been in all the other leagues.
So loss.
I'm an idiot. I should have taken him more.
At
I
Virginia,
love ECU.
Week 3 at Virginia.
Loss. One hell of a recruiting schedule, by the way. Like, you want to start recruiting Virginia and North Carolina, you take down both Virginia schools and you take down ECU. You start taking names there. They're going to go 0-3, but that's one heck of a way to try.
Now, I don't remember who we took in this game, but I think this is where Old Dominion can get the win.
I have him a loss. All
right, Andrew.
I like James Blackman, Tavalance Hunt, Jeff Orman.
No, I think it's a win.
So basically, Andrew he thinks every Mountain West team's winning 10+, and every Sun Belt team's winning 5 or less.
Old Dominion now is in the Sun Belt.
Correct.
Are they not?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Dude, I just think Arkansas State is not good. Then they're not a team that I want to pick to win games.
I think Old Dominion wins.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're 1-3. 1-3. Then they get Liberty at home.
I think Hugh Freeze can make some magic here.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Liberty.
I don't know if it's Charlie Brewer, but it could be Slater or Salter.
They announced
starting by then.
Yeah.
By then,
yeah.
I think it'd be better off maybe.
They said Salter's not even number 2.
Like Liberty.
Right?
Well, he'll jump number 2 and then go to number 1. That's how good he is in practice.
Okay.
He'll receive the negative feedback and he'll turn it into a positive.
Okay.
And
this is a hellacious schedule.
Okay. So then we have them losing to Liberty. Bye week, coming back at Coastal.
Yeah, that's an easy out.
Then they get Georgia Southern for homecoming.
I want to say Southern, but I want to say ODU here, but I like Southern.
You're insane.
I'm going.
I like Southern.
You've spent too much time hanging out with the Campus to Canton boys. They love Georgia Southern.
I can't help it.
I'm going to lean Old Dominion.
Yeah, on homecoming, come on. That's a win.
Then they follow that up at Georgia State. I think they win that.
I don't know.
They're going to feel good. They're going to feel good after beating Georgia Southern. And I think they follow it up with another win.
I like State's running backs. I like their dual threat quarterback. I love their tight end. I took so much of him. We didn't talk about it. I took so much of Aubrey Payne. I know Andrew did as well.
But the best tight ends on the field for the other team.
Yeah, and they're on the road. I'm taking Georgia State here.
Okay, Andrew.
Tiebreaker.
It's tough. Georgia State.
Oh! All right. Loss. Marshall at home.
I think Ali's back by now. That's like the question, right? Is like, what will Marshall do with?
Do you honestly? I mean, I know Ali's, the guy, but do we think the guy that was Khalil
Laybourne, I think is the former FSU guy, right?
Like, do we think there's a huge drop off? Because I was reading stuff like they were talking about that was not set in stone that Ali was the number 1 back.
Yeah, that's a bunch of
no. I know it's probably coach speak, but whatever.
I mean, Laybourne's got like 280 career yards, right? Like, didn't Mitch say that on Twitter? I didn't fact check it because why would I ever fact check anything? But
I mean, do you think that's the difference of the game?
I mean, it's impactful. Like, if he's not playing, that's a big move, right? Like, I don't think we can downplay Ali. I just think he's back. And I think Henry Colombi is going to hit his stride by then. I think I like Marshall in this game on the road.
I do too, honestly. Like Marshall. Andrew, I guess it doesn't really matter.
I mean, it doesn't matter, but you're insane if you're betting on Henry Colombi.
All right, then they get James Madison. Oh, they close out. I guess that last game awful, but they get James Madison. I think they lose that one.
I give him a win.
Oh,
I'm not going against JMU. Chris Thornton, Percy, Abise, whatever. Give me that offensive talent over whatever ODU's got.
so James Madison. James Madison wins that one at App State. That's a loss, right? For Old Dominion.
Correct.
Okay, and then they close out at South Alabama. If they're going to get a win, that's it.
I give him a loss.
Oh,
yeah, I was gonna say this feels like a semi trap. You know, they're going to go into the recruiting season and get trapped by it.
So to recap all of this,
I think they only
win, loss.
I think they only beat Arkansas State.
No, we had them beating Georgia Southern. Andrew and I overrode you on that one. So there's two wins for Old Dominion. Ooh, Justice is.
And honestly, it kind of feels one
Andrew,
heavy.
what's the total? Do you have that information?
I gotta find it.
That's gotta be 5.5. Until tomorrow, and then it'll probably be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do they have?
I'm just loading up now, so it's gonna take forever.
What do you guys think it is?
You have it?
Yeah, I've got it.
I think it's more like 5.5.
4.5.
Okay. That's a tough schedule. I was not expecting this schedule, to be honest.
4.5. So where do you think we have them at 2? Where do you think the other 2 to 3 wins are?
Liberty and South Alabama.
No way. It's got to be Georgia State. And South Alabama. I give you those 2.
Those are the 3 in question. Those are the 3 most likely. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I think Liberty.
Do you think so? I think Liberty could easily have an awful year. Like, they were above average, but like Malik Willis was their best player. And now you got Charlie Brewer, the guy that's won the most quarterback battles at different schools in America. Like, I don't know.
Well, maybe he can win some games for Liberty.
Andrew doesn't seem thrilled about that 2-win prediction.
It's fine. I mean, I see them winning more games. They have 3 guys going in the top 10 rounds of our drafts. They have some talent.
That's what I was saying. Like, you're talking about the tight end for Georgia State. Like, the best tight end on the field is for Old Dominion.
He's underrated. Andrew, let's end it with this. Andrew, what's your favorite week 0 DFS play? Do you have one? I'm going to give one that I have not disclosed or written about anywhere after you.
I haven't looked at.
I don't read anybody else's stuff either, so I don't.
I can't say anything smart about DFS yet. I haven't looked at the pricing at all.
All right, Chris.
I'm a big fan of. Let me confirm first name because that's how good I am. That's not his first name. I like Washington, the receiver from Nebraska on DraftKings. I think he's 3,800. He's starting. He's going to be a receiver 2. And I just think that I'd like Kyle Van Leeuwen. I like Nine Davis. Like, I think all those guys are very viable, but like, I think there's a very legitimate shot that Washington has a really solid game at 3,800, and those other guys are duds at more expensive numbers than him. So
do you have the pricing up?
What's the question?
I was going to ask how much Terrell Vaughn is, because he either gets on.
He's fairly expensive.
That's annoying.
He's not.
If he gets on the field, I think he's going to crush it, but he's double ored with the other 2 slot guys. So,
all right,
Marcus Washington, by the way.
So I want to run through these games real quick. I'm not.
Oh boy!
No, I'm just week 0. Week 0. Up the more ideal.
The only one I really like in terms of spreads and bets is UTEP.
I'm not necessarily
line or
saying
plus
like
one.
which games we love. I'm just gonna kind of run through like if you had to pick one, who you would.
UTEP. I would take UTEP.
Okay.
Or maybe Hawaii.
All right. So
Vandy over.
Northwestern Nebraska, they're in Ireland. The line right now is currently at 13.5. Nebraska's favored. 13.5. I think I'm going to take Nebraska. I think Northwestern's awful.
I'm not touching that.
I'll take North Texas.
I was going to run through all the games.
Oh, we going opposites.
No. I was going to run through all of the games, not pick what game you like the best. But anyway, UConn at Utah State, 27.5 points. I like UConn.
It's down to like 26 now, by the way.
I like UConn with the points. I think.
No, I like Utah State.
No, they're looking ahead.
I like Utah State.
They're looking ahead to Alabama. They're going to pull the starters second half. Make sure they're healthy enough to at least put out a good team. I'm going UConn, 27.5. Wyoming at Illinois, 11 points. Illinois is favored. I'm going Illinois.
I would go Illinois, but I'd prefer not to have to choose.
Charlotte at Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic by 7.5. I think I'd take Florida Atlantic.
Charlotte's getting 7.5.
Yeah,
I would take Charlotte's getting 7.5.
Same.
Okay. North Texas at UTEP. It's North Texas -1.
I like UTEP.
North Texas.
I'm going to go North Texas.
North Texas. Yeah.
Nevada at New Mexico State. Nevada's -9.5.
What a weird number. Like
I'm going to take New Mexico State.
Like a year ago, wouldn't Nevada be like -22 or something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'll take Nevada.
What a difference. I would take Nevada as well. But
New Mexico State.
What a weird year. We don't even know who their quarterback is yet, by the way.
Doesn't matter.
They're all the same.
Vanderbilt at Hawaii. It's down 7.5. It was 8.5 yesterday. Actually, earlier today.
Getting the 7.5 or Hawaii getting the 7.5?
Hawaii's getting the 7.5 at home.
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say I like Hawaii in that scenario. I like the over more. I think it's like 55. I'd rather go over
53.5. I mean, I'm using
I'd rather go
BetMGM,
over.
but probably about the same. 53.5, 7.5 points. I'm going Hawaii. Andrew, you're going
Hawaii. Come on,
of course you are.
Of course.
Okay.
They're going 12.
We didn't really talk week 0 about the games very much, so I wanted to kind of throw that in there. But that is all tonight. And that's the last podcast we're going to do before football kicks off.
I think there could have been some more air in between that, but
Could have, but
I respect it. I respect the decision.
I've been trying to refresh my Twitter search for Brew McCoy, hoping that some news breaks while we're on here, so I can really just put it out there. But
so you're saying that prayer circle did not work?
Well, there's one guy. If you go search Brew McCoy on Twitter and you do the latest things, you scroll down. Guy says
that guy does not count. I know you're looking at. Do not. I've seen all of those. Folks.
I saw that and I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
No,
that guy doesn't count.
There's nothing.
No,
nothing.
There's nothing. We will not know until Monday or Tuesday of next week.
And that's what I said.
We're not knowing. Yeah.
That's what I said a couple weeks ago. We won't know until the week of game.
And he's going to be eligible. I'm calling it right now. He's going to be eligible.
Damn right he is. All right, guys. That's all we've got tonight. So enjoy week 0. We'll be back next week to talk about what we saw and kind of get ready for week 1
and what we didn't see.
And what we didn't see in week 0. Yeah, exactly. So
enjoy the first games, man. This is awesome. We're here. We finally made it after doing shows for 6-7 months.
Which, by the way, before we go off here, I am actually very impressed with all of us. How we've maybe barring 2 or 3 weeks where we just didn't have much to talk about. We've been pretty regular on
26 episodes over the span of 6.5, 7 months. That means we did miss 2 or 3 weeks.
And we did one of those draft specials, remember? So
yeah,
we're We're pretty consistent, so I'm proud of us.
We consistently don't love our family and friends, and for that we should be proud of.
Right. All right, guys. Till next week. I'll see you guys later.